meeting for the Historic Resources Board, City of Palo Alto, State of California, on Wednesday, January 7th. Would you like to call order attendance? Roll call.
Chair Kohler, Vice Chair McKinnon, Board Member Bernstein,
Here.
Board Member Bowell,
Here.
Board Member DeSiquio,
Here.
Board Member Vandenberg,
Here.
Board Member Wimmer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're all here. It's nice to see everybody here today, and hope we all had a good holiday. We haven't seen each other in a little while. Oral communications. Is this oral communication? I guess I have, is this a speaker card for oral communications? Okay. It's for Leland Francis. Francois.
Thank you, Chairman Kohler. Good morning, Resource Board members. Leland Francois. Last time I came before your board, I believe it was last year, August the 6th, and I took the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about some of the events going on what I've termed the other end of town, and other end of town to many of you, that would be East Palo Alto. But I did let you know at that time that I was launching the Ravenswood Industrial Park Historic and Agricultural Society. And it's taken me several months to really put the foundation together for this. So what I've done, I brought a kind of, I want to share with you, this is the original poster that was associated with the East Palo Alto Historical and Agricultural Society that was started in the early 1990s. And I kind of kept it, and didn't do a very good job at preserving it, but you can see that I've added the word Ravenswood Industrial Park. And the reason behind that is that I think the Ravenswood Industrial Park Cooley Landing area served the entire Mid-Peninsula at the turn of the century in terms of its industry. After working with the East Palo Alto Historic and Agricultural Society for a number of years, we made some attempt to register and preserve a lot of our historic resources out there in the East Palo Alto Ravenswood industrial area. However, that's been somewhat unsuccessful due to the significant redevelopment projects. But nonetheless, my efforts continue to try and put some historic perspective on what has taken place here in the Mid-Peninsula area over the past years, such that our communities and cities can grow simultaneously based on facts that actually took place. And since the Port of Ravenswood did serve this community more than 100 years ago, it is currently slated for some construction redevelopment. That's an educational project going on out there now. But I had originally started, just like I had mentioned to the City of East Palo Alto last night, that my efforts previous efforts were to launch what I have termed the United Nations DARP program. That's a Documentation, Archiving, Records, and Preservation program. This has been an ongoing effort for the past several years. And I am looking to gain the support from our local historians, Mr. Steiger, Mr. Postal in San Mateo, so that we can sit down and offline and talk about the facts of how Cooley Landing and the Port of Ravenswood contributed to the industry. My background is that of agriculture, and I've developed the Ravenswood Garden Kits products, and I'll leave some of these flyers for you. And since agriculture has been the basis for our cultural development here, then I kind of figured this would be a nice foundation to kind of start things off this year. And my specialty, of course, is to find out just how much the early agricultural concepts served this community. So I'm coming back to you here at the beginning of 2015 to reassess my mission and to further extend an invitation for your help. It's going to take the collaborative efforts of everyone getting together talking about facts that really took place if we're going to serve the interests of the children coming up both in Palo Alto, South San Mateo County, and North Santa Clara County. We can't give them erratic stories based on prejudicial points of views or whatever. And I'm speaking on behalf, for the most part, of the African American community. We have a very sensitive situation out there in East Palo Alto. We haven't been served as well in terms of our historic resources, and that's my major priority now, to try to pull something together to support our culture interaction. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and share these ideas with you, and I'm looking forward to discussing any further issues.
Matthew?
Will you on how to contact you? Do you
Oh,
have?
yeah, I can leave you. I have a couple of office telephone numbers on my
Good,
flyers
they
here.
could be passed them
Yeah, I'll-
Yeah, just-
here, and we'll get them back to you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, at the moment, there's been a proposal to change the agenda. I have no more speaker cards. Around to move item number 3 up to now, so that staff can participate. Why don't we do the minutes? No, we're going to skip the minutes after, to the end of the meeting, I think. Unless, are there any issues with the minutes at all?
Yeah, I like your idea of putting the minutes at the end of the meeting because the applicants are here now. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll do that then, okay. Okay. So we're going to move now forward to item number 3, which is review of certified local government CLG program for 2013 to 2014 annual report. Matt, you're going to take that?
Thank you, board members. This is the CLG annual report for 2013-2014, the reporting period that covers October 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2014. All CLGs or certified local governments are required to report annually. It's my understanding that Palo Alto has actually missed a couple years in the cycle, so there wasn't actually a report last year, I don't believe, or probably not the year before that. But we're starting the process up again. I have been in touch with OHP staff and inquired as to whether we need to go back and complete the past reports, and I haven't heard that we have to do that. So my understanding is that, you know, by completing this report and moving forward, we will then be in hopefully good standing with OHP, and we will then be in a position to actually apply for CLG grants and things like that. So this is presented to the HRB for their review and comment. That is actually one of the requirements of the process, is that it be presented at a commission meeting or a board meeting. So if you do have any comments on the accuracy or additions of information, please let us know, and we'll make those changes. This is due to OHP this Monday, so this coming Monday. Thank you.
So if we individually look at this and have an issue with any of the items, we would contact you, or do you want to discuss each item today? I'm not quite sure.
Ideally, if there are any issues of accuracy or information that I need to add, we would know about that today.
Okay.
But if individual board members do need a little more time, then we could certainly accommodate that. Definitely need to have all the information wrapped up by Monday, though, in terms of submitting it to the state. The state doesn't necessarily check the accuracy of all the information. It's really a matter of reporting the information is the key requirement.
Yeah, I was, oh, Martin, I can't see you down at the end there.
Thank you, Chair Kohler. And thanks, Matt, for including this in today's meeting. On page 6, it talks about Certified Local Government Program Annual Report. If you could turn to that. And I do see, if this is up to date, that on the top it says it is a CLG requirement that all commissioners to the staff attend at least one training during each year. According to this list, see there's one board member that doesn't have any training listed. Is that a consequence to the full board?
I don't believe it is. there are numerous requirements, but to be quite honest, I know that not all jurisdictions in the state meet every requirement every year, and that's understood by OHP. They really want to see progress being made towards meeting the requirements is what they really want to see. So I don't believe that would be an issue.
Okay.
And we'll just make sure that we address the training for each board member, that there's an opportunity for that this coming year.
Okay, and that leads to the next question. Is there, for the board member not listed on this requirement, then is there a consequence for that board member?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it would be more looked at in terms of, is the program itself functioning as it should be? And if all but one of the HRB members have attended a training, I think that's substantially meeting the requirement, and I think OHP would see it that way.
Okay, thanks for that.
Matt, following up on page 8, there's, all of page 9, you've lined out various things that seem to me to be pertinent to our work here. I'm wondering why, we don't have a local, we don't have a local tax incentive program, so that could have been checked no.
Well, actually, this section, Section 5, is only to be completed by CLGs for new CLGs who are
Okay.
certified after September
all right.
30th, 2013.
Fine.
So Section 6 is the section that would actually apply to CLGs certified before that date.
It's
And so-
not a very clear form, but.
It's not.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks.
but so really you complete either Section 5 or Section 6, and it's similar information in both.
Okay, thanks.
I've noticed on page 6, it's kind of all mixed up here, but I'm credited with one training situation, and I spent 2 days at Stanford University with a training along with David and Martin. So I don't know, I can get you that data, but I think Beth, you were there too, I think, right? Beth? You were there at Stanford as well.
So is
So-
that training not showing up at all in
No,
anyone's?
it doesn't show anywhere here.
Okay.
Under
Oh,
Beth?
Okay. So if we add that training to Roger and Martin?
Oh, I see I have 1 day, but I was 2 days.
Oh, okay.
But I did something else as well. Okay, well, for this purposes, it's probably okay.
True,
Yeah.
it does show that the training requirement has been met.
Okay.
But thank you
Great.
for that. Perhaps, let me follow up with you, and maybe we do want to get that information, so maybe I can email you.
Yeah, I usually keep all that at the office somewhere, so I
Okay.
can find it. Okay? But I guess everyone should look at the list and make sure that you've got all your credits. But you're saying, for this purposes, what we're showing now is probably enough to keep us certified?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And I do believe that we have all the resumes and applications that we need from all the different board members when they applied for their positions here. So, Dan, is that correct? So we don't need any other additional information from the board members at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, some of us resubmitted forms because we were just reinstalled last fall, so.
Right, and I think
Okay,
we're
good.
using the most recent applications.
Roger. Beth?
Would it be appropriate to have a motion that it is substantially correct? That the report is substantially correct?
Certainly, I mean, the board can just provide informal review and comment, but I think a motion to certify that it is accurate and correct would be certainly helpful.
I so move.
Is there a second? Second. So it's been moved that we approve the data as moment of the Certified Local Government Program 2013-2014 Annual Report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that does pass with everybody present.
Thank you.
So then we go back to, I think we've decided to move the approval of minutes to the end.
Yep.
So we will now go to item number 2. no, item number 1, sorry, 251 Lincoln Avenue. Request by Margaret Wimmer on behalf of Donna and Harry Schmidt for Historic Resources Board review and recommendation regarding proposed alterations and additions to a residence initially constructed in 2003 that is listed on the City of Palo Alto's historic inventory in Category 4 and located in the Professorville Historic District. The project would include relocation of the house on the site 7 feet farther from the property line at Ramona Street, and the project is subject to the regulations of the Single-Family Individual Review Guidelines, IR. Environmental assessment, categorically exempt from the provision of CEQA, CEQA, Section 15331, zoning district R1. This item was continued from the meeting of December 3rd, 2014. So staff, is there comments?
Just a brief introduction. The board has seen this project before, and the subcommittee did meet and discuss some of the topics. My staff's analysis of the most recent application is included in the staff report. I believe it does reference topics that were discussed in the subcommittee meeting as well. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Yes.
In light of the fact that the subcommittee met and reviewed this, and also that the applicant's providing new information this morning, I think I'd like to reserve some time to talk to staff after the presentation. I'm not sure I'll have questions, but this piece of information we got just a few minutes ago from Margaret has
Well, I think
some
generally that's the, I think there, it all comes back to the board to make
All right.
discussion and decision. So we have applicant presentation, is that the first step? Actually, does staff have anything to preamble the proposed presentation here?
Not at this time. Would yield the floor to the applicant.
I guess we're going to need to get a hold of the city audiovisual department, see if we can figure out a better way to handle these presentations. Is that, because especially when there's a lot of staff here, that's going to get kind of complicated. I guess I can disclose I've been by the property a couple times, went by there last weekend, and I did take some photos at one time. And I guess we all disclosed that we were at the last meeting. And was everyone here for the last presentation? Oh, Patricia, you were not. Okay. Okay.
Disclosure, I have several times been by the house and looked at various aspects, including the companion or similar house that's across the street.
Oh, I didn't realize there was one across the street. Which way? On the other corner or across the street? Okay. Okay, applicant?
Yes, it's
would like
across,
to-
it's right directly across Lincoln.
Yeah, on
It's on
Lincoln.
Ramona, but it's directly across
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Okay, applicant would proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, board. My name is Margaret Wimmer, and I'm here on behalf of the owners at 251 Lincoln, Mr. and Mrs. Schmidt. And I'm here as a follow-up. This is more of a follow-up hearing in response to the comments that were discussed at the first hearing, and subsequent to the first hearing, we had a subcommittee meeting where we took a closer look at the project, took a closer look at the details, and I think successfully came to a resolution on all of the concerns that were originally presented or as a response to this project. Also, in addition to that, the staff has issued another round of comments and questions that I have addressed, and those refinements of those details I just gave to you in a small packet I gave to you this morning. So that kind of details the minor changes that we've made since the big packet that went out. We've continued to detail and refine it in response to some of the staff concerns and questions.
Do you have an additional copy?
Yes, I do. You can have mine. I gave you one. It's here. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
No. It's here.
I'm not sure I saw it.
I have an extra one. Here it is. I have it up there. Do you want me to grab one? I gave you one here.
I think I just thought it was another copy of this letter, so.
So just to recap, this is 251 Lincoln. It's in historic Professorville. It's built in 1903. This is the most prominent elevation facing Lincoln as it is today. Our proposal is to lift up the house, move it 7 feet away from the Ramona Street elevation, dig a full basement, and place the existing structure on the footprint of the new basement. We are adding roughly 169 square feet to the first floor, which consists of an expanded family room, as well as a family dining area off the kitchen. And we are also proposing to add about 34 square feet to the sunroom, which is the front entry gable consists of a sunroom, which will be developed as a new dining room. These are just pictures of the front. This picture is in response to some of the fine detailing that's on the front entry gable. So we've determined that the front entry gable is historic, and it's one of the most prominent architectural features of the house. And it has a big importance to maintaining the style of the house, and also in keeping with its time and place. There is a series of windows with transom windows above, and there's a very narrow but distinct wood molding between the windows and the transom windows. It's a dental molding that we will maintain, and as you'll see in subsequent slides, we're continuing that detail as we work with this front entry gable. Also here, I would like you to note that there are some existing carved corbels that are placed, they're painted black, that are under the existing eave. That's a really generous eave overhang, and there's some carved wood corbels that exist there. One of the requests that have come in, one of the latest requests, is that we reuse the front door. So this is just a picture of the existing front door. It's a 4-foot wide door. It does have a panel of glass in it. It does have a transom window above it, and it does have the dental molding between the door and the transom window. So we will, as requested by staff, that we remove this existing door and transom and we relocate it. What we would like to do is relocate the front entry away from the side of this sunroom, but we would like to locate it on the Lincoln-facing front elevation. So we're just pivoting it 90 degrees to give the house a better sense of entry. Since this front door doesn't face the street, we would like a street-facing front entry. And this is just a line drawing of the existing. And this is a line drawing of what we are proposing. So this shows that existing front door and transom window now located on the Lincoln-facing exterior wall. We are proposing a new flat-roofed portico or porch covering to offer some protection for that new front door. And if someone's approaching the house, they can stand, it's an overhang, they can stand under that. What we have done since the packet that you have now, in the subsequent information, staff has requested that we minimize the detailing of that portico. In the packet, we have a more prominent 11-inch square column. Staff has asked us to reduce that to the existing 6-inch column and not post column, and not articulated at all. So we've really minimized the scale and the detailing of that new proposed portico. Also on this front elevation, I'd like you to notice how we are preserving the prominent roof, pyramid roof form. In the packet, the cornice at the top of the new flat roofed area has a detailed cornice. In the packet, that cornice intersected with that hip roof line. Now, staff has asked us to not intersect that. So as the cornice molding at the top of it, it's kind of a gray. It's this very area right here where it's shaded in gray. That's showing, just to call out that flat roof area. As it approaches that pyramid, that hip line, we'll step the cornice back so that it does not intersect with that hip line, so that line will read very clear. Also, in terms of, in response to something that the client has really wanted to see on the front elevation is an oval window in the front entry gable. And I know that we have gotten responses from the board and from staff that a window such as this oval window is not necessarily in with the original architecture. However, it's a very client-driven decision. On the interior of the room that's behind that gable, it's a bedroom, and there's a small door that accesses the underside of that gable. And the client would like to develop that as a child's playroom or cubby, and they would like to experience some natural light in there. So that was the reasoning for the oval window. As an alternative to the oval window, if we are required to remove the oval window, we can add skylights. So with this elevation, I've shown the skylights in addition to the oval window. We're not proposing to do both the skylights and the oval window, but I just thought I would show it just to show you what skylights could potentially appear on, what that would look like. You'll also see the skylights show up on the side elevation, so go to that next. So this is just the existing view of the rear. This is the line drawing of the existing rear elevation. And this is the proposed rear elevation. So you can see that skylight, how it would be mounted on the front entry gable. It's kind of a modern look, and I know I always try to locate skylights on the rear roof elevation so it's not visible from the street, but there's really no other way to have natural light in that space. If we're required to eliminate the oval window, this is what our client would like to see. On this elevation, you can also see the front entry extension, the overhang with the simplified 6x6 post. And also, as a response to one of the comments, the French doors on the left here, these French doors, with the original packet that you have, we were proposing to have some Craftsman-style brackets. Because that is a generous overhang above those doors, we have extended the overhang to offer some weatherproofing. So we would like to articulate that extended roof overhang with a bracket. We were asked to remove the brackets because they weren't in keeping with the existing architecture. So what we've done, and we've pulled that carved corbel detail that I just pointed out that exists on the front entry gable. We're proposing to possibly put a detail there because of the generous overhang that's there, it feels like it needs something to better articulate that. This is the interior side, which is really hard to see. And this is just, there aren't really any changes here, except the removal of the brackets. But you can see, I have to go back, sorry.
Just the back arrow.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. I just want to point out, this is an extended overhang that's over those front doors, and this is an extended overhang that's over the front door, the door that's the new doors that's facing the Ramona Street. So because of that extended overhang, we just would like to articulate something there. We've taken the brackets away. We're now showing a corbel. This is the Ramona side. This is a line drawing of the existing Ramona side. We've already talked about how we're removing the non-complying structures that are non-compliant and non-historic. We're continuing to propose removal of those areas. And really the only change at this elevation is the view of the skylight in the front entry gable, and then the corbels in place of any kind of bracketing on either side of that Ramona entry door. This is just the basement. There's no change to that. This is the first floor plan. One thing I'd like to bring up now in terms of discussion is the first hearing, we had proposed to enclose the front entry porch, this entire area here. Sorry, it's sort of hard to see, but where the arrow is, that's that existing overhang. We were proposing to originally fill in that entire rectangular area and expand that front entry, expand the sunroom. But in response to some of the concerns from the original hearing, the board really resisted us filling that space in because it really altered the visual appearance of the front of the house. So what we had done is we stepped back the addition. We didn't eliminate the addition there, we just stepped it back so we could still experience that feeling of the post and feeling of that original composition of the architecture at that front entry gable. However, we did maintain a smaller addition in that area. And that's currently how we would like to maintain it. I did, after the subcommittee meeting, because that was sort of one of the great resolutions of the subcommittee meeting, that we would minimize the addition there to be able to experience that original corner. There was another comment from staff, and they said that they requested that we not any addition there would not be connected to the underside of the eave. So really, it would be really almost impossible to do an addition and not intersect the underside of the eave. So this drawing here eliminates the addition altogether. We would like to maintain the added area. So that's just something that we would like to discuss and come to a resolution today. The second floor has no changes. This is the roof line, and I'm just showing how we'll step back the cornice to allow the hip to not be intersected, to be able to maintain that pyramid roof composition. And I believe that's all the new material that we're presenting today. So in summary, we're just simplifying. We're simplifying the front entry details, we're simplifying the post, we're simplifying the portico. We are stepping the cornice of the second-story flat roof so that it doesn't interfere with the pyramid roof. We are requesting that we are able to gain natural light in the front entry gable by means of an oval window, which the board has expressed a concern before, but I'm hoping that when you view the option, which is adding skylights to that gable, maybe the oval window is the lesser of two evils. That's what we would really like to have, an oval. Well, our client would really like to have the oval window. So we're asking, and we've actually simplified the oval window since the very original request. We had some divided light type of design in the oval window, but now we're just making it more modern and simplifying it. So that kind of summarizes everything.
Okay. I just have one quick question before we get. Is the existing garage staying, or is it a new garage? Or
yes, there is an existing two-car garage that's detached in the rear of the property.
Yes.
That is accessed off of the alley.
Yes.
That will be maintained. Okay. As is. We currently, we're leaving it as is. We don't have specific plans to do anything with it at the moment. Okay. But if we do anything with it, it will look just like it is today. We'll just renovate it.
Well, the reason I asked to rebuild it might not comply to the current zoning rules, so.
Yeah, that's why we kind of don't want to touch it right now,
Yeah,
because I know
okay.
if we do rebuild it, we'd have to change the scale of it.
Now we have questions of applicant and staff. How do you want people I assume have questions? We want to start with you, Martin?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Kohler. And thank you, Margaret, for the good presentation. At the last hearing, I was commenting in support of some kind of a natural light into that little attic area. And thank you for showing options of skylights or oval window. I looked at the Field Guide to American Houses. We've used this many times before. And for Colonial Revival, there are 8 examples in this chapter of Colonial Revival showing a window in the dormer, in the gable. All of them are round. So what I would be making a suggestion to the board, and I would be making a motion if that's required, when it comes to that point, that we do allow a window to be in that gable. And my motion would be it'd be a 24-inch diameter circular window, not oval. Circular window is consistent with the style based on this resource here. That's my only comment now. Thank you.
Beth, why don't you go ahead then?
All right, I had several comments, but in general, I see these plans as muchly improved. I like the pyramid roof, very clearly delineated. I think the flat roof, actually in 2 places, has muchly improved the design. I still favor not putting the oval window or round window in, and would favor skylights. I always have concerns about moving of historic buildings. will this building be moved in one piece rather than deconstructed and put together again?
Yes, we have a professional house mover, and we will also be supplementing that with a structural design to be sure that we shore up and structurally strengthen the existing house as it is picked up and moved. So we will be guaranteed that no detailing or historic value will be lost with the raising and relocating of the house.
And as I remember, there were very strong beams under the house.
Yes, the house is built extraordinarily well for this time that it was built. So structurally, it's very sound as it sits today.
As it sits today. And I am glad to see the historic door reused. I think that's, again, on a very simple design house that has some unique flavor to it, and appreciate the idea to keep it in place. I think that you've done a remarkable job of cleaning up the back end of this house.
Yes.
And really celebrate that.
Margaret, I think this is a fabulous improvement, and I appreciate how much the owners have had to modify their expectations to do this. I know how difficult that is from the other side, from your side of the table. My preference, I'm sympathetic to Beth's concern about that oval skylight. I appreciate Martin bringing forth pictures. So clearly it's not inappropriate. The skylights would provide far more light than that oval window, and I would prefer to see that facade untouched, but it's not a significant issue for me. I think that all of the changes that you've made to maintain the pyramid shape of the roof are really significant. In fact, they're better than our package design. I'm unclear, though, about this 17.75% addition at the front door. Is that something you want? Because on this drawing, which you brought this morning, it's not there, but it is in our packet. So I just want to understand whether...
Yes, so on the packet that I presented today, I did remove it as a response to an item in this letter.
Right, but did you want, so...
We would actually like to have the addition. That's what our client's desire is. Originally, we were going to have the addition in that entire space, but because the board felt, and the subcommittee comments were that we really wanted to maintain that corner as it was with the post as it is now. Mm-hmm. So we did that by pushing back, minimizing the addition, but the clients would still like to have the addition.
What are you talking about right now? I don't have a copy.
What page are you on?
Currently, the porch is open, and the package drawing has a small section added.
Yeah, it's on page A 3.1 of the packet that we received last year.
Highlighted space.
Yeah, this is page A 3.1 right there. Shows the addition at the entry.
Okay, those are my
So,
questions and comments.
just to note on,
Could you just re-summarize what you said? Now I understand what you were talking about.
Well, I wanted to understand this drawing, the floor plan that came with the materials Margaret handed us at the beginning of the meeting, does not show that addition. It shows the porch as it's currently configured.
And is that what it's going to be?
No,
so actually what my, my reason for doing that is because after the subcommittee meeting, we were given by the staff another round of comments and concerns. And in this letter, I'm listing the different comments, and it's comment number B, which is redesign the proposed new entry portico so that it avoids physically affecting, i.e. does not join to, the existing gable and eave. So it would be relatively impossible to have an addition in that area and not intersect the eave. So as a result, the addition was removed. However, if it's possible to have the addition, that's what our client would like to have, they would like to have the addition.
So one final comment. I think removing those knee braces and putting on the corbels to match is actually a great design decision, because it will make those additions seem more, obviously be compatible and look more like the original building, but it'll be obvious that they won't be, so good choice. Thank you.
So I just wanted to make one comment in terms of those brackets. So I know there's a discussion of what we're proposing to do and being able to differentiate it from what's existing. So a lot of times the comment is, don't try to copy what's there, try to come up with something similar or compatible but different. So the previously designed Craftsman brackets, they might not have been exactly the most compatible design, but they differentiated. So as a response to this round, I've taken the differentiated brackets away and I've replaced it with something that's very similar. I mean, I guess we would try to match the corbels that are there. So I don't know if that's really solving the question of the differentiating the old from the new, and it gets a little confusing after a while with these different comments. So now I'm differentiating less and matching more. Maybe I can find something in between. I don't know.
Go ahead, Mark.
I just have a comment on that differentiation. I would, my interpretation of that is mainly for large masses, you want to differentiate. For things like our details, you try to make it compatible.
That makes sense.
In my opinion on this. The second thought I had, I don't have a problem at all with the round window or oval window, whatever you desire to make it. I think the books we have here shows an oval window. It's oriented in the other direction, but I don't have any problem with that. I do have a problem with skylights that are visible from the front facade. I think that really detracts from the whole presentation of the front facade to have that visible from the street. When you go around the side of it, you'll see the glare of the skylight. So I guess my opinion would be to delete the skylight and keep the oval window.
That's what we would like, yeah.
Let's see, Patricia,
Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the last meeting, so I might be asking a question that's already been answered. When you're turning the front door to face Lincoln, what used to enter into the sunroom, I believe?
That's correct.
What is going to be in place of that door? Is it going to be windows that are imitating the ones on the other side?
Yes, we would be replacing that door with a window that matches the window that's adjacent to it.
And so
I'm just trying to see, here's the shaded area, which is new. That's where the old door was, so now they've got this bump, they're moving the door to there.
oh yeah, I know that, but I just wondered what they were doing with this
They're making
space.
this little additional area. Not exactly sure what it's for. The owner just wants that little extra niche, is why you're adding that little box.
Well, they originally wanted the entire rectangle, so it's
that's
a
right.
compromise.
Yeah. So in the last meeting,
see.
they wanted to take this whole thing, and we
Said to step it back.
So we didn't suggest stepping it back, but that's what they're proposing.
Okay.
Is that correct, from everybody's memory? Well, she missed the meeting when we talked about the original owner was the one that enclosed that whole area that was hanging out. This is a halfway. And she's wondering
Right.
what the little half niche is for, and you're saying it's, the owners would like to have it for use of some furniture or something inside.
That's correct.
And then the flooring in there is probably the whole thing has been replaced into brick, was probably originally wood?
The flooring in the sunroom or the flooring?
The exterior going into the front door?
That's brick right now, so and we would have to remove it in order to lift the house and relocate it, but we would put it back the same style. It's just a herringbone pattern brick with a straight border. We would do something, just replicate that.
Okay. And the window, I kind of have mixed feelings about that too, since everyone else has brought it up, and it's, I think with the, you know, Craftsman, Colonial Revival did a lot of that with round windows, I believe. Usually, I think we're on bigger structures as a, I would prefer that that would not be included and the skylight would be instead.
You would prefer the window over the
The
skylights?
window be omitted in the front.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Martin?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Kohler. Margaret, you mentioned on the first floor, the original submittal we got, it showed the 17.75 square feet on the floor plan. It's A 3.1 of the original packet. And then today is showing it none. You mentioned it was a compromised option from filling it in. I'm looking at the floor plan. There's a window there. I'm not seeing what the value of that small addition would be to the owner. Can you explain what the benefit to the owner is on that?
Well, because we were planning to add that rectangular area.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm getting at,
We just pared it back and we
so-
just maintained what was left.
I understand. Okay, so I think it's.
You're right, it is kind of an awkward space, but.
Understand. So what you're presenting today on dated January 7th, I think is a pure example of either put a full addition or no addition. I think not a, like, using your words, a compromise thing. I think it's a little bump there that rather than a full. So I would support what you're presenting today on the 7th. Regarding the, I also.
Say that again.
Yeah,
Explain.
I support the plan on that we got on our packet today, January 7th, without the addition at the entry. It's a pure example of what to do with that corner, rather than the compromise thing that was showing up last year. I also am full support of Board Member McKinnon's comment about the idea of differentiation and compatibility. I totally agree with Michael McKinnon's comment about, yeah, it's involving major masses of where you want the differentiation to be. So all the little details, I think it's very appropriate that those be replicated because they're small enough details. The overall massing is fine. And then the comments about whether it's skylighting in that dormer or round window. Skylights are going to be seen from the Ramona Street side and the Lincoln Street side. I think it's Palo Alto requirement, I'm not sure, that you have to have actually curb-mounted skylights, not flush-mounted for the waterproofing detail. So those are going to be two objects sitting up, and it's going to be visible. They usually have some, probably some metal flashing in there. Yes, that can be painted dark bronze, but paint can wear off, and then you start getting reflectivity. And you start adding, I think, elements to that historic portion of the house. As far as round versus oval, round, again, as I mentioned, there are 8 examples in the reference guide, so I would be in support of a round dormer window instead of a gable window instead of a skylight issue here. We also used often in our deliberations here about making contemporary use for historic structures. And adding natural light is a good thing for quality of life. Again, I think there's some consistency with adding that. Without the mullions that Margaret's proposing on her elevations, that'd be a way of showing that it's not an old historic window, but it is compatible in style based on our reference materials. Thank you.
Okay, so a couple quick questions I have, just that I've lost my train of thought.
You know,
I have one minor comment, I guess, is that I would not mention at all anything that says playroom on your drawings, because that's, you know, that's not a legal space up there in the attic, so it should be just, don't say anything about it. And the round versus the oval, not sure I have a preference. I think, Martin, you're suggesting that there's no round or oval window at all. Is that correct?
No, I'm suggesting that there be a 24-inch diameter round window, not oval, because a round window shows up 8 times in the example of the American history books of round windows in a gable on a colonial revival house.
So you took a vote from the historic houses and they voted for oval.
I'll repeat. In that book, there are 8 examples of round windows in a gable on a colonial revival, not oval. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's one oval. There's,
It's vertical, but it is oval.
well, I don't know, maybe in the, I saw it. Okay. So the question before us is the drawings as presented today, which we will approve or not approve with suggestions, then go in and are the basis for the construction drawings that we will provide. Just make sure everyone understands that. Is that correct? Today is the last decision, Mark?
Hopefully,
Matt?
yes.
Yeah, I'm asking Matt.
Well, it is up to the commission to determine if an action is appropriate or whether they want to continue it again. I would recommend making a final action today. I think we're in at that point. I would like an opportunity just to provide a few comments.
Sure.
After having heard some testimony and some
Yes.
comments. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Wimmer and the Schmidts for being so responsive to staff's and the board members' comments, and particularly in this last round of comments. This is obviously a very complicated house and project to work with, and so I think particularly Ms. Wimmer has done wonders with the project. In terms of the front entry cover and the comment made that ideally it would not connect directly to the gable, and I think the architect has looked into it and determined that there's really no way to pull off the project without making a connection to that gable, and I think that that's understood at this point. My one comment in terms of, again, referencing the elevations that were provided today to the board would be perhaps to omit the overhanging cornice band that is proposed on the existing porch cover, and just have a very simple flat cover with the post. And to me, that removal of that one minor detail allows that new entry to really be subordinate, and then also partially mitigates the connection issue because you don't have an extra detail connecting to that existing gable. So that's my one comment, just to nitpick, if you will, on the existing or most recent proposed front entry. And of course, reusing the door and the transom is fantastic, and the dental work. In terms of the second story addition, the new roof connection, I really do think it's fantastic that it's been pulled back away from the hip rafter. It looks like it's still actually touching the hip rafter, and I would be a little more comfortable if it was actually set back some distance behind that hip rafter, just to make sure that form and shape is really preserved. Again, that's a really kind of nitpicky kind of comment. Regarding the dormer, I actually agree with Board Member Bernstein that a round window would be the most appropriate shape. I think the book does speak to the frequency of round windows with this style versus oval. And I do think an oval window, while it may be present on some examples of the style, those would be the more elaborate versions of the style. So I do think a circular window would probably be the most appropriate shape. And just suggest that perhaps the bold trim around that circular window could be minimized as well and allow that feature to recede a little bit. In terms of the corbels, I also totally agree that the corbels extending that existing feature around to the back is a fantastic solution rather than introducing a new feature. I think that the fact that it is new work around the back and the sides will be clear, and so it won't, the new work and the old work would be differentiated, and the corbels would actually help tie together the new and the old work. And as far as the porch semi-enclosure that's shown, or the extension of the existing wall, I believe that that does preserve the essence of the open, semi-open space below that. But I do know that board members have different feelings on whether or not that should be enclosed or partially enclosed. It's my feeling that, as proposed, it does preserve the character of that porch as it was initially, or as it currently exists. So thank you, and available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Martin, you have to figure out how to maybe do something like that.
Matt, when you made your comment or suggestion on the, you said the entry gable, was it the Lincoln side elevation you were asking?
That's correct.
Yeah. Can you repeat what you were saying? I'm looking at that drawing, but what your suggestion was on that?
Yes, so we have the new entry porch shown as with the flat roof and the post, and on top of that there's a sort of detailed cornice that overhangs a little bit. That little detailed cornice sort of reflects the proposed cornice at the new second-story wing, and I can understand why it was proposed to sort of tie those in, but I'm not sure that needs to be tied in that way, and I think that by omitting on the entrance, by omitting that cornice band and just having a flat roof with a post, I think that would allow that new entry to be subordinate in a way that would also address the connection issue to the gable visually.
I see, okay, I see, so just getting rid of the cornice, I see, the molding.
Exactly.
I see.
Just getting rid of the molding.
Okay, great,
along
okay,
the
thank
top.
you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you.
I'd actually like to follow up on the comment. I saw that change, it looks like a crown molding on that front porch. I actually saw that as tying together the addition. And to follow up on Michael's comment about small details and large details, I think what that does is it differentiates it in an appropriate way. And I'm worried, as I envision that porch without that crown, that then we've introduced another style and it doesn't conform. So I'm comfortable having that crown molding there because I think that's a tie.
If I may mention, one of the comments, and I believe Ms. Wimmer indicated that this would be taken up, is to retain the dental molding that currently exists, and perhaps this is an opportunity to, rather than have the crown molding, to incorporate the dental molding into that new covered entry as well. But again, these are just suggestions for the board.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague's comments here. I think the crown molding is fully appropriate. I think by not having it there, you introduce a contemporary assemblage on the front there. The crown molding is contextual. It goes with the contextual theme of the upper part there. It's compatible with it.
We seem to have a debate going here.
So,
Okay.
actually, not debate. Thank you for bringing up the dental molding, because I looked at the drawings and I can't see where that is. Is the dental molding you're talking about the corbels?
It can actually be seen in the photographs. I don't think it's, it's a pretty fine-grained detail, so it probably doesn't show up in the drawings, but the photographs show that there's dental molding around the existing entry, and I believe around, maybe even surrounding the porch in certain areas.
Yeah, okay, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it's definitely there.
Martin would like a tie-in here.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chair Kohler. So I agree with Board Member Bowers and Board Member McKinnon's comment about the keeping a crown molding at the. I'm sorry.
Okay, because I thought you were saying not to do that, but now, okay.
No, I'll repeat if there's any confusion. I'm just commenting that I agree with Board Member Bauer and Board Member McKinnon's comment, just that they just made now about keeping the crown molding at the entry overhang that is, I think, then consistent with, looks like the molding details that the applicant is showing up on the second story addition. So I think that helps tie it in.
Go ahead, Beth.
Just wanted to make the comment that my own house has an attic area which is very similar to that little piece on the gable for a kid's space, and they loved that. Sneaking in under the roof is a wonderful, wonderful feature.
My only thought was that maybe the one over there might be not quite as beefy as the upper one, but I'm okay with it either way, so.
Well, that's where we can rely on the genius of the designer to do the right detail there. So.
All right, so any other comments, questions before we?
I did want to point out that we do have a materials board that I think we didn't have. It's right here on the corner, and I don't know if you've had a chance to pass it around. It's.
Oh, okay.
And I think it might have been missing the first hearing. So, but basically, we're continuing the same palette as what's on the house now. I believe that those colors have been on the house for many years. We were at this time just going to continue that.
All right.
I probably has been brought up. The house being moved 7 feet, is it to the back, and was it necessary as opposed to leaving it where it is because of the addition and the setbacks?
Right. So the reasoning for moving the house 7 feet is because we would like to dig a full basement, and the basement, we would like the basement to have the same footprint as the house to maximize the usability of the basement. However, because of the existing placement of the house on the site, Ramona is considered the legal front of the property, and it requires a 20-foot setback. Okay. But where it's placed right now, the house is roughly 9 feet from the property line, where we're required to have 20 feet. So in terms of developing a basement, we can't put the basement directly under the house because the basement has to comply to the 20-foot setback. Okay. However, with the HIE, which we've applied for and I believe we've been approved for, we can have the basement encroach 4 feet into the setback. So now the basement wall is 16 feet from the property line, which requires us to move the house 7 feet back.
Okay, well, thank you. That's probably had come up. One other thing, just comes to my mind, where we've talked about the oval window, the no window, it's curious whether there was originally a vent there, which would have been pretty common for an attic area of a one-story house, as is shown in the roof above. But do you think this is original? There was no vent?
I don't believe there's no evidence that there was a vent. So.
And just one other comment, if the round window is approved, you can get a pivot. We have a pivoting one at our house.
Oh, that would be nice.
Out of colonial revival structure, so you can actually get fresh air.
Mm-hmm. That would be nice.
Somebody's feeding back.
Thank you.
Martin has one last comment.
Let's see, I'm ready to make a motion, but is there any members of the public that want to speak to this item first?
Oh, we do have, no, I never got a card. Okay. Mr. Benzicar would probably like to talk. I have one while he's coming. In terms of setting the house back, if you look at the survey in the back by Wade Hammond, the adjacent houses are back so that the new home will be closer to that adjacent home. Because I found that corner kind of claustrophobic when you make the turn there. The existing home is so far forward that when you make the turn, you're not aware of the rest of the homes past it. And so I think pulling it back will actually enhance that drive down that street to see the rest of the historic homes. Streetscapers. Yeah, the streetscape is improved. Mr. Benzicar.
Hi, my name is Sam Benzicar of Creative Habitat, and I'm a co-designer and project manager on this work here. I actually wanted to comment only about one thing. I'm a bit puzzled about the procedure here. As you all know, in the beginning, we were advised to meet with some consultants and get some feedback as to how we should proceed and what would be acceptable later on, we found out that it was completely not in line with what the board felt. So we really appreciated the opportunity to have met with the subcommittee. It has given us a direct and clear guideline of what would be accepted and not, and I think it's a very efficient part of the process that we should encourage future applicants to engage with. Speaking of that meeting, it was, as I said, very conducive to being very efficient on coming back with a drawing and a plan that would be acceptable by the board. And as far as I remember, and we've agreed, or the 3 board members that were there and staff did not oppose the idea of having the porch indented the way we have had it on the way we discussed. And to my great surprise, I come here today and I see that it was eliminated. Why? Because after our meeting and after our, I think, unanimous agreement, staff has recommended yet again to make a modification, which I think it's very odd to me that after that, I mean, staff had the opportunity to voice their opinion at the time. We said specifically to get that thing resolved, and I would hate for that to come back to the drawing board right now. The homeowners have learned that, we were in agreement to that. They were very happy. And to answer Mr. Bernstein, board member Bernstein question as of why would they wanted it, because I have been in contact with them many times since. They wanted to, as the door swings to the left, they wanted the house to really open up on the right as well, and not to have a feeling that, so that was the idea. It was not just to gain space, it was the feel of space that they were after. And I think by doing this indentation, they would get it, and yet we would not compromise on any of the historical aspects. Thank you very much.
Ready to make a motion when we're ready. So. Okay. I'd like to make a motion for this project that, move this over here. I'd like to move approval of the project as presented to us on the drawings that we received today for January 7th, 2015, with the exception of changing the oval window to a 24-inch diameter window with the exterior molding shown on the Lincoln side elevation on our dated January 7th, keeping the molding the same dimension as the designer has shown it. It would be a simple molding, but the same proportion as the molding, but a 24-inch diameter oval window. That'd be my motion. So.
Comments?
Just to clarify, Martin, are we going to adopt attachment A, the conditions here, as we typically do? And if so, I would assume that the conditions that staff has recommended on the back of that attachment be eliminated, since basically all of those changes have been incorporated into the drawings. So that's 2 questions. Are we going to adopt these conditions, which we typically do? And I don't have any problem with the first 9. Even condition 10, prior to building permit set submittal, applicant shall submit a revised project addressing all changes. So they really have done that. So I guess even 10 doesn't need to be in there because it's been. No, this isn't in our
This
staff
sheet
packet.
dated December 17th?
No, it's our staff packet.
Oh, staff packet for me.
Right, and this attachment A at the back.
Are you looking at the attachment A?
Right, attachment A.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm asking is, I'm assuming we would, as we do, include items 1 to 9 and just eliminate 10,
Okay.
if you want a minute to review.
Let's see, that makes sense. Let's see. It seems to make sense to me. Let me take a look at it very quickly here. I'm reading that for the first time right now. Applicant shall submit revised project plan. So these are the revised plans, and we're looking at the ones I'm proposing.
I think
Okay,
so.
yeah.
So it's my understanding all these, A through G have been met. The only one that was not addressed is E, and then you've addressed that in your motion, so.
Right, yes, okay. Yeah, so I would, include, so my motion then would include attachment A, but anything shown on the drawings that we received today from dated January 7th would supersede any item that would be on the attachment A. Is that a fair way to put it?
Well, I would eliminate number 10,
Okay,
because that's where all of the
Okay.
requests for changes are, and that's redundant.
okay, I would, yeah, I would.
Would the maker of the motion like to consider the topic of skylights?
Well, my motion would be not to include not to introduce skylights because it's adding 2 additional visible items on a significant gable.
Thank you for your modification.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, so I would include then attachment A into my motion and then eliminate item 10 on the conditions then. So.
Beth? Microphone. Turn your microphone on.
What do we do about the Secretary of Interior Standards? Because we have in that same report, Secretary of Interior Standards, and several things are marked as not consistent.
Pardon me, may I address the board?
Yes.
The staff report that you have in the comments and the conditions were based on the set of plans that were included in your packet. They did not take into account the most recent proposal, which was submitted today. Based on the conversation that we've had, it does appear that nearly all, if not all, of the comments have been addressed in terms of this consistency with the standards. So I would think that, based on the plans submitted today, the board may find that they're consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards. Regarding the board's responsibility, it's actually to make findings in relation to the ordinance, and those findings are included in your staff report on page 7 and 8 are the other findings that are required to be met, and so the board can simply say that those findings have been met.
But I thought we were always required as a basic requirement to say that they meet the Secretary of Interior standards or fairly well meet the.
So under the ordinance, the ordinance actually has review standards that are not exactly the Secretary of the Interior standards. So the SIS are what we use as working set of standards to get to the ultimate conclusion in relation to the findings in the ordinance.
But it's been historically that the board include, and this project meets the Secretary of Interior standards. So I would ask the maker.
Yes, I will include in my motion that the project as presented to us on the drawings dated January 7th, 2015 are in substantial conformance with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation.
And may I mention that it might be a good idea for the boards to mention that as conditioned by the board in its approval motion, that it's consistent with the standards, because I believe that is the intent.
Yes, as conditioned by the board's comments today.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Can we have, I thought we were having a discussion, are we?
We're discussing a motion. I'd like to say that I read the staff review on page, let's see, starts on page 4 and goes to page 7. I had a problem with some of the conclusions that this project was not consistent. I felt that most of the objections, at least as articulated in the report, were relatively minor and not would not have been, I understand that there are only two options, consistent and not consistent, but we don't ever have a black and white world here, so this is, I guess my feeling is that as Martin has articulated, this is in substantial compliance with the Secretary of Interior standards based on our discussion, so I'm very comfortable making this recommendation.
Okay. Any comments? So we have a motion to, as stated by Board Member Bernstein, and the vote would be to accept his motion, and all those in favor?
Wait, has there been a second?
Yeah,
Second the motion.
she's seconded a couple times. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That passes with Board Member Wimmer abstaining or not present, or what is she, what is it, not participating?
Recused.
Recused, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the owners and Margaret and Mr. Benzigar for being so flexible in approaching this project. I thought this was a fairly difficult project to review because of the unique character of the building, and I am very conscious of having the board redesign projects, and not really comfortable doing that, but I thought the review the subcommittee had with clients' representatives was extraordinarily productive, and I think the outcome of that review and all of our deliberations has been, I think, very successful, and I'm hoping in the future we'll get more study sessions as coming up in the next item, because I think that would have been very helpful here. So thank you, and make sure your client understands, Margaret, how appreciative I am, at least.
And we appreciated their attendance at our earlier meeting.
Okay, thank you. I found my agenda here. So we are going to go, do you want your book back? Okay, that brings us back to, let me backtrack where we are. Agendas, minutes approval. Is item 2, is that correct? Is my, yeah. It's 1432 Webster, is that correct? Okay, 1432 Webster Street, request by Jeremy Alden for a study session regarding proposed modifications to a shingled craftsman residence that is listed on the city's historic inventory as Category 3 historic structure. The project would include exterior alteration, a new two-story addition, a new basement, and relocation of the house. Is there a staff report?
Thank you. I just want to say a couple brief words before Ms. Fong introduces the project. This is a study session, so this is review and recommendation. These are non-binding comments. They should not be seen as approval or denial or conditional approval or anything such as that. I would recommend that in providing comments that the board look at the project in a hierarchical pattern in terms of looking at the site and the layout and the broader perspectives of mass and scale first before getting into the details of materials and fenestration and things like that. So I think that would be the most productive way to proceed. Thank you, and I apologize for interrupting Ms. Fong.
I'm not sure I got is this a handout we just got today or not? So it's okay, never mind. Yeah, okay. Let's see.
Good morning, staff, board member. So I just want to introduce the project.
Okay.
So 1432 is coming forward today to the board as a study session item. So there's no staff report prepared. As Matt mentioned, that there will not be any formal recommendations and actions taking place. This project it seems like in the proposal will involve a two-story additions and alteration. So if it become a formal application, it would be a discretionary application. Staff would appreciate feedback, some initial feedback from the board today in regards to this potential project with its consistencies of the secondary interior design standard. The architects and their design teams are here today with a presentation to explain their concept design, and they will be here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. My name is Jeremy Alden, and I'm with Back and Gillum and Kroger Architects. Are we there yet? Yep. Okay. Jeremy Alden, Back and Gillum Kroger Architects, and I'm joined today by Michael Garavaglia, who is the historic architect on the project. 1432 Webster was constructed in 1914 by George Mosier. As mentioned, it's a craftsman-style bungalow, currently Category 3 inventory. One of the key aspects of the site is a large redwood grove. I believe there are 7 redwood trees located in a back corner. And there was an extensive remodel and addition in 1989 that we will highlight. Here we have the building in context of a kind of a mature block in Palo Alto. Embarcadero is off to the left in the left-hand corner. The front facade, as seen from Webster, it's an interesting front facade in that we have 4 windows, all of different proportions, different sizes. There's some significant asymmetry going on in the front facade. As seen from the backyard and side yards, and let me grab my pointer here. This structure here, the backmost structure, is the addition of the master bedroom, and in conjunction with, I believe, a kitchen remodel and some other intensive interior remodels. However, in the front of the house, these are the 3 main rooms that face Webster. We have the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. It appears that a significant amount of historic fabric is still intact in these rooms, aside from the kitchen, which, as I mentioned, had a remodel. Our goal is to retain these rooms and really, because they are the best of the house. As we move to the back, we see the less than best. This would be the master bedroom addition. From the exterior, the details all match, but there was free license taken with the interior architecture. This is the existing floor plan on the first floor. It's about 2,200 square feet. Sits over a very small partial basement. As the front 3 rooms are on the right-hand side of the plan, and this would be essentially what we would be rehabilitating here, is we would look to demolish the 1989 addition and rehabilitate the front 3 rooms and then a small den in the lower left. And then we would be adding, as staff mentioned, a 2-story addition to the back and top of the plan, and this would be over a full basement. The existing house requires a new foundation, so we would take the opportunity to lift and reposition slightly the historic house, and then do a contemporary full basement. As we look at the lot plan, the redwood groves sit on the lower left-hand side, and while they're a tremendous feature to the lot, they also do constrain development. That's one of the driving reasons that we would look to shift the existing house south or down towards the bottom of the plan to free up space on the top of the lot for the addition. As we move to the second floor, we've worked to configure the floor plan to break up the mass, and we'll get into some elevations and some massing models to show how we're working to articulate the mass of the building so that the historic house really retains its prominence from the street. Quickly, just full basement plan, open floor plan with a gym. So this is kind of a bird's eye view from Webster. We have the historic house, single story up front, Our goal is to create a two-story addition that has a harmonious relationship with the house, and to look at the existing detailing, the openings, the materials, the roof lines as a beginning point and as our foundation for how we design the addition. This is the front elevation. We're kind of working from a viewpoint of kind of a tripartite design concept, where we have the historic house, we have the addition, the shell of the addition with the referenced details. We're not copying. We're looking to certainly pay homage to the house, but we're muting the materials and the detailing currently to let the historic house kind of shine. And then the third part of that would be a contemporary glass wrap that certainly becomes apparent in the back of the house. So here we have a side elevation beginning on the left side with the historic house, coming into kind of a transitional element, and then we have the contemporary element in the back. This would be the rear elevation. So one important aspect of the design is a connection between the house and the landscape. That is the driving principle of the new addition, is the ability to open up the house and have a kind of a free flow between interior and exterior. Not only when those doors are closed on the first level, but having a sequence of pocketing doors, so those all retract into a pocket, and you have kind of unfettered access inside and outside. As we look at the massing from Webster Street, we have the two adjacent buildings. I believe it's 1432 Webster on the left, and I can't remember the address on the right. And as we layer in the existing vegetation, this is the hedge and the redwood grove, and then layer in the street trees and other plantings, I think that it really starts to meld into the neighborhood fabric. Once again, looking from the other side, and as we layer in the existing vegetation. So, brief introduction to the project, and now I'd like to open it up to comments, questions, and take it from there.
I'd like to start out with a quick question with staff. Does this go through individual review?
This is not a formal application yet.
I know, I understand. Will it be going through individual review process?
It will be,
So
because
they'll
that second story additions is
Okay.
more than 150 feet.
So you haven't met with Arnold yet then?
Yes, we have.
Well, you don't have to have an application to meet with Arnold. Arnold Marmorelli is the consulting architect who reviews all second floor additions.
And we have had a...
Yes, sorry.
No, sorry.
Oh, so you did meet.
So there is a preliminary meeting with Arnold already. It relates to the individual review process.
And he responded to these drawings?
Yes.
I felt that we had a very positive meeting, and from that, we dramatically, I won't say dramatically.
You met with Arnold Marmorelli, who's from Oakland, and he didn't say anything about this design?
Oh, no, he did. And we've shifted the mass around to, I wouldn't say address all of the concerns, but I believe the majority of them have been addressed in the current plan.
I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Okay. Questions of board? I guess it's just a brief discussion, and we're just going to give us our ideas and how it relates, and so. Mass? No, okay. Who wants to start? Beth, go ahead.
I had a question because the drawing we had looked quite different from your indications on these pictures in terms of what those windows would be like. There was some suggestion of metal and there are different colors in here. What is the difference between this rendering and the one that you showed with more clearly windows?
Beth, you have to speak into your microphone. You have to be closer. Pull the microphone closer so we can.
Okay. Yes, what is the difference between what's now being shown and what you showed us today that looked like, more like each one's a separate window? Because there's shadings on these.
Well, that's the rendering. I think there's probably quite a big difference between the printout and the digital display. That would be clear glass in the windows. Colors and of siding, of trim, we haven't really even broached that yet. So, but this is all clear glass.
May I address the board briefly?
Sure.
I would suggest, in order to provide the prospective applicant with the most organized comments, that we approach the review by looking at it in a sort of hierarchical manner. So we look first at the larger, broader issues of form and massing and discuss, the location and the size of the proposed new addition. And then once we've kind of come to some conclusions there or made some recommendations, then maybe address some of the finer details. And if I may, I'm just going to take a stab at this and give you what my opinion of the current design is. So what's being proposed is the addition of two-story volumes, both with front gable roofs. I am concerned about the impact of the forwardmost gable, because it extends on top of the existing house and it extends forward of the ridge of the cross gables that currently exist. The proposed two-story volume that's further back, I have less concern about, and in fact, I think I could even support it because it is pushed further back and it does appear to be at the back of the existing house rather than on top of the existing house, and it is behind the ridge line of the cross gables. So I would like to just throw that out there as a beginning point of discussion for the board and let the board respond to that. Thank you very much.
Well, I can't resist. I mean, the reason I asked about Arnold is I've done 100 homes with him, and to have him say this is okay just boggles my mind.
I wouldn't speak to him, use his words as saying it's okay. I thought we had a very progressive conversation about direction.
I just can tell you, I mean, basically, I don't see this getting approved by the individual review process myself. You've got this gigantic box just smothering and burying the existing house. It's just, I mean, basically it's totally unacceptable. I mean, I just don't see how you're going to get past that individual review program, let alone us. I mean, it's... Okay, let's talk about it. But I mean, it's kind of it's almost a waste of our time if it hasn't gone through the individual review program and been, but I can just, because, okay, we'll hear from us. I'm sorry to be like this, but it's so frustrating because I have been in meetings with Arnold where the homeowners have left crying and very upset. And so it's a big deal in my world, to dealing with the individual review program. And to see this is it's kind of a slap in the face. I just don't understand it. And I will definitely have to talk to him about it.
Just to clarify process, there's no requirement that there be a staff approval to come to a study session at the HRB. So this, I mean, we're granting the applicant's request to come to the HRB.
Well,
but it shouldn't.
I think it's a very, very good idea, and we've been trying to encourage that, and so we'll hear what everyone else says, but I'm not sure what to say. Margaret hasn't had a chance to talk today, so she can
Hi.
start.
I have to admit that I didn't really look at it because I was a little distracted with my own project. Excuse me for being selfish that way, but wow, that's my first reaction. And I think it's exciting just because it's different. It's something that maybe we haven't ever considered before. I think it is going in a direction that a lot of architecture is going, in a more modern, sleek, contemporary spirit. I don't see it as a final solution. Obviously, that's why we're having a study session. I do think that elevation with the expansive windows it's just a little abrupt and maybe unexpected. I think you can refine it and you can do something, continue the more modern spirit and keep it exciting that way. I think it's a challenge to find a balance between that and what the city would like to see. So, I mean, I'm having a positive reaction. I think it's exciting, but I think it's a little, it's just a big wow. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Kohler. And Jeremy, you said? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you for coming before us. And, you know, the board highly encourages study sessions, so thank you so much for this. We've gone through many other projects in the past where we get a complete set of construction drawings and then presenting to us, what do you think? And then so that makes it a little inefficient. So thanks for coming, appreciate it. I've been a vocal proponent of adding very contemporary detailing and additions to historical structures. I think it's a good way of celebrating the historical aspect. I think, as you mentioned, made some reference to that direction of letting the historic house shine, and then having contemporary, even ultra-contemporary things working with historic structures. I think it's a nice balance to do. On the Historic Resources Board, obviously, as you may know, we need to find any project that comes before us in substantial conformance to Secretary of Interior standards. And when I look at your drawings on page 14, that's the exterior elevations there. And also on page 3, the existing frontage there. When I imagine what this would look like with your proposal on the street-facing facade, I do not see how this conforms at all to the Secretary of Interior standards. If you look at the existing historic structure, the craftsman style is very horizontal feeling to it. When I look at your proposed drawings, I see more vertical aspect to it. And that is not in conformance with the Secretary of Interior standards. So I do not see this meeting that standard at all. So as far as how it relates to the historical stuff for the compatibility, that'd be, I think, the next design aspects to take a look at. So the horizontality of the existing and how is the proposal working with that. There's the idea of dominance of the historical aspect and the subordinates of the new addition. So that'd be another design task ahead to take a look at. As planner Matt mentioned, we're looking at the overall massing. Details can be refined, obviously, of how eaves and dormers and brackets and how that works. Window proportions, if there's horizontal emphasis, if there's vertical emphasis. Material textures, so that there's dominance and subordinates and all that stuff. But as far as the overall massing, it's my comment that this nowhere meets the standards that are going to be applied when an application comes before this board. Thank you.
I totally agree with Martin. This sweet little house has been just totally dwarfed by this very vertical, very contemporary. I would be also, I think what's going to come up at a meeting, if this might even be partially approved, is what the neighbors might be concerned about with the massing of all these windows. I can't really imagine what they look like without seeing a board or something. I don't know if they're clear glass, if it's tinted glass, if it's all glass and metal. I think we'd have to see a lot more, but I don't think it's compatible with many of the Secretary's standards for a lot of different reasons.
Beth, you ready, Beth?
Let's see, I would concur with some of the things that have been said in terms of not meeting the Secretary of Interior standards. I do agree with Matt that new addition box set on the second floor of the existing building really, or no, it's not on the existing, but it is set in front of the ending of the existing building. In other words, it's pushed very far forward, and you lose that bungalow roof feel on the driveway side, which is the side that is most visible from the street, so that it presents a problem to me to have that piece put in so close to the original structure. I think it is going to be a real struggle to make the two-story addition not overwhelm that front bungalow. And it is really quite well preserved at this point as a good example of that kind of architecture. It will be much more visible when, from your drawings of the landscaping, when you take down that fence of hedge, so that it really could be seen very clearly. I feel like the modern materials are also a bit overwhelming to the spirit of this house. And we have learned over the years that you can say, oh yes, we have a wonderful tree basis around the property, but those trees don't live forever or suddenly develop holes in them, and your neighbor can really see it's happened over and over again. So I have some feeling of caution about saying, oh well, it's all screened from the neighbors.
I'm not going to be delivering anything that's more encouraging than my colleagues. I actually share their feelings that when I first saw the addition, the first word that came into my mind was overwhelming. I think you have a volume problem. I think you have a differentiation issue. You've got horizontal siding, and you've got a patterned shingle existing building. Mostly, I guess I'm, again, like my colleagues, concerned about compatibility. I feel the original building, which has interesting small, feeling of kind of small details, is overwhelmed by the addition. So, and I guess the other issue is that the front second-story addition, which hangs out over a porch, feels like it's, I mean, maybe intentional, but I would feel uncomfortable walking under it, even though I'm sure this is not going to be a design, a safety issue, but it's just a big mass over a void. So, you know, volume, compatibility, differentiation, you certainly differentiated it, but and I guess I also share Roger's feeling, like based on the current city planning review, that wall of glass that looks onto the neighbor's building would either all have to be obscure or somehow they wouldn't typically allow any of that to be
And it certainly would be on the backside, not on this elevation, but on the back elevation.
Well, I mean, even a glass wall that can be opened that looks onto a neighbor's property would be discouraged, I think, so. Thank you for coming to this session, even though we're beating up on you about your design, which I feel somewhat bad about. Better to do it now.
Well, the goal is to save money and resources and time,
exactly.
and chart a path, because I should probably let the rest of the board speak, but if it's not deemed appropriate to have a two-story addition on this project, if that's not gonna ever go anywhere, then we have other options.
No, I actually think that's not the issue.
Okay.
No, I could see in the
Well, no, there are
addition.
plenty of issues.
Yeah.
I just want, if the big one is a two-story addition, and that's not ever gonna be feasible, then we will need to quickly chart a different path for this structure.
Yeah, I actually don't have, I wouldn't have a problem with a second-story addition. I just think it's too large. And I understand, you know, I'm a residential builder by former occupation since I'm retired. One of the advantages I felt I had is that I can look at a two-dimensional drawing and see it in 3 dimensions. I can look at the structural drawings and see the thing in my head. It's just something I'm lucky to be able to do. I didn't even need to get that far. As soon as I saw the 2 dimensions, the second story just feels like gigantically oversized based on the first story. And so that would, and I think that's what my colleagues are expressing as well. So anyway, thanks for coming, and sorry we're not giving you better news.
Yeah, I guess it's more of the same with me. When I looked at it, it clearly, the addition you propose is not subordinate to the primary structure, which is a very attractive craftsman style, as I have seen it here. I think the end result also has a negative effect upon the historic district that it sits in, and it tends to not enhance the district, but degrade the district.
Yeah, I sort of apologize for my outburst at the beginning. It's just, I get so involved in the situations and dealing with homeowners crying and complaining about what Arnold and staff is asking them to do with these homes. And second floor additions, we have down the sides of homes now have frosted windows that go up to at least 5 feet, almost automatically now, so that there's absolutely no chance of anyone possibly seeing someone in the room, the house next door. So the neighborhood situation is extremely important today. In the old days, 5, 6, 7 years ago, neighbors seldom got involved. And my reason for that, I think, is that now the drawings, instead of being in a drawer across the street, are online. So the neighbors get these drawings and they're going to send them out there the world, and here's what's going on. Oh my God, look what they're building next door. And pretty soon you have the entire neighborhood out with petitions and meetings and appealing, and it's a big process. And recently we were told by staff that the review process is going to require an extra 2 or 3 pages of an analysis to avoid some of the requests from neighbors, that they have to make it very clear why these projects are being approved. I'm talking about any 2-story addition or a new home in Palo Alto. And so what used to take a month and a half to get staff reports are now taking 2 to 3 months. And the neighborhood relationship to windows is extremely important, and it'll, I mean, like David just said, in fact, if your neighbor says trees are going to die, you're going to end up frosting all those windows. It's just not going to be a very happy thought. But I would say I actually think the additions to the rear can be done in the way you're talking, because in fact it's very clear that this is an addition. However, it's the initial reaction as you walk down the street that this home should blend in with the existing character of the existing home, such that you can sort of just say, well, I can see where that might have been added, but it's not obvious. And I think that one of the issues that board members here are saying is that the fact that this one addition comes looming out over the existing home is just, and that's why I was so shocked that I just drive down the street. You can just see all these new homes, all the second floors are pushed back, so that the second floor, even new homes with 2 stories, have to have the second floor pushed back if the homes on each side are 1 story. Now you have an advantage that there are 2-story, so you have a little bit of a benefit that you should be able to blend in, and the 2-story isn't going to be much of an issue because of the 2 stories on each side. However, we have the added factor here of historic structure underneath, and that is going to sort of it's going to be a challenge how you blend the addition in with the existing house, which I agree is really, I know this one because you drive down, you go by it quite a bit. So I think you, as commented, the relationship of the new structure to the existing historic structure is going to be really critical, and how that works out and how you work that in. So.
We are all sort of saying the same thing, and the other thing, I can remember clearly one of our projects that was the old water tower on the house at Monty Anderson.
Oh,
and
yes.
The neighbors, I think at least 20 neighbors from the whole surrounding block attended, and they said it would look like a beacon in Palo Alto, and this amount of light coming from this amount of windows would probably light up the whole block, I would think, the way it's designed at this point. And another project which the entire block showed up was just regarding a extended outside porch that the neighbors, 2 or 3 of the neighbors, could feel like their privacy was invited. I mean, it's really big. When people live on these expensive properties, they do want their privacy, and I can understand that. So that is something else that is pretty clear that happens.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes. Okay. Hi, Jeremy. Just a couple of comments on design process. What I've, this is just what I'm an architect, and I've done many projects. As far as the steps I go through on a challenging project like this of adding structure to an existing historic structure is one of the first things I pay a lot of attention to. What's the existing character of the existing? I made some reference about maybe the horizontal feeling on that. So one way to get compatibility with new additions is, how is it compatible with the horizontality feeling versus vertical? I'm always I've studied history a lot, and remember Louis Kahn asked when he was doing in Bangladesh, he looked at the site and the materials and the context and says, what does the new work want to be? And so that takes some reflection. And then if I look on your page 14, I don't think that answers the question in my personal comment about, I don't think that's what it wants to be versus the historical stuff. I am as I mentioned, a proponent of doing ultra-modern stuff connected to historical works. And when that happens, what I found is successful in my practice is extensive neighborhood outreach. Just having a conversation of finding out neighbors' concerns. Here's what I or my applicant is considering. Which just that kind of feedback in here. So there may be a way to get all the contemporary glazing onto here, which I think, to me, is a very exciting idea. And I think there may be a solution, but neighborhood outreach, I think, is going to be really critical on that. And then the overall comment that you've heard from the board almost unanimously is, how does any new proposal, how is that subordinate to the historical character? And I think those are going to be the things that if you submit an application that comes to the board, that's going to be probably our main criteria is how does this conform to those standards, particularly standard 9? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
One last question, okay.
One last question for staff. Is this project within the Professorville Historic District?
This is a project outside of historic district.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
This is a project that is outside of the historic district.
It is outside
It
of
is outside.
Professorville. And are we reviewing it because it is a discretionary project?
That is correct.
Okay.
Good question.
That
Yeah.
clarifies.
I just assumed that was in Professorville. Okay.
So you take back a quarter of the comments? No, I'm joking.
What?
What's that?
I was joking that you'd maybe take back a quarter of the comments, but no, it's
Take
fine.
back a quarter of the comments.
They were all pertinent and appreciated.
Well, in summary, I mean, I look at the site with those redwood trees and the rear addition with all that glass. It's fabulous. I mean, you get to see, the trees and everything. And of course, they're not there forever. I mean, I 60-year-old pepper tree in my backyard that just died. But the trees are really a beautiful thing to have on the site. And I just, relating to the existing, we're basically somehow to get this kind of work in such that the importance and the general feel of the historic home remains. And the new addition can obviously be an addition, but it's not saying I'm a brand new building, I just popped in out of space here, and so it kind of works together. Anything else? So, well, thank you very much and good luck. I would suggest you, would they come, I don't know why my mic's so loud, but would the next step be for them to would it be good for them to have another preliminary meeting with us, or is that permitted, or how's the, maybe for his process for all of us to understand what we're kind of in a new world with new people and everything, so what's our newest, for our information for the applicants, what do you think is the next process that they would go through?
So this is something I'd actually suggest that we will put on our agenda for our next meeting, which will actually be a retreat, and discuss how we can perhaps form a design review subcommittee that might be available to provide this kind of input. And I think just in general, we want to discuss the pros and cons of having study sessions with the entire board versus having a subcommittee that can meet separately from the board that doesn't have to be a public meeting that can provide this kind of input. So I think based on our conversation at our next meeting, we will establish some perhaps semi-formalized procedures that we can say, these are the recommended courtesy review procedures that an applicant or prospective applicant might follow. For this particular application, I think it would definitely be appropriate for the applicant to think about the comments they've received and to come back and perhaps either have another pre-application meeting with staff or either attend a study session at the full board or a subcommittee meeting, whatever the board decides is the appropriate procedure.
One last question. So this does go through individual review, but in us, and I don't even know why, it's not ARB for any reason, would it? That's not a commercial project? No. Okay. Martin?
Just to clarify and picking up on Matt's comment, so looks like because I think we're going to be seeing something completely different next time, I would suggest. So there might be another study session just to...
Yeah, study session would probably be
I think
a good
another study
idea.
session might be very useful since I think we're going to be seeing something different. So,
Well, we don't know that.
we don't know that. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for coming, and it should be,
Thank
I mean, all things considered, it'd be great to have a big glass house looking at the trees. So thank you. Okay, so we're down, historic board action, okay. Okay, now this is minutes, oh my. Yeah, I've got the official list here. Applicant presentation, historic board questions, public comment, close 3 minutes. Okay, that's for that. I've lost my schedule. I have minutes. I don't have the schedule.
Here, no, that's the draft thing. Here,
Maybe Matt can help us. What's next on our agenda?
I believe minutes are all that's left.
Oh, okay. So we were handed out minutes for all of last year's meetings, is that correct?
I believe one additional set of minutes were handed out to you today that weren't originally in your packet, but you should have all that full set before you at the moment.
I see. Yeah, that was on top. Yeah, this is our,
I'm sorry.
I'm really surprised that we have not reviewed minutes from any of the other meetings. I thought we had done some early in the
I picked those
year.
up from over there.
Perhaps earlier in the year, in 2014, but I don't believe it's happened since I've been here.
I take your word.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not since you've been here. So maybe that's the problem.
My secretary's helping me out here. What?
All right, let's approve the minutes. Go to work.
Uh,
I can't believe we didn't review some of those.
Unless that someone has an objection or anything to correct on any of the minutes, we can approve all of them in one motion.
Sounds like a plan.
Is there a motion to do that?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the minutes, March 19th, April 16th, July 2nd, August 6th and 20th, October 15th, November 5 and 19, December 3rd.
Is there a second to do that?
I second.
It's been motioned by David and second by Patricia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, that passes with everything.
Actually, there's one correction. I wasn't here on March 19th, so I would abstain from approving those minutes.
You should make a blanket
And I
statement.
wasn't
Yeah,
here.
right.
Yeah, except for times when members are absent.
Yeah, so just to be clear, my motion is that we're approving all the minutes for all the meetings that each of us individually attended. So if we didn't attend every one of the meetings that these minutes represent, there'd be no approval by the people who have not attended. Is that clear?
That is clear, but my understanding is that even if a member is not present at a meeting, they may still review and approve minutes.
Yeah,
My understanding is that is the case, but you may proceed as you like.
And the minutes do state who was there and not was there, so
Okay.
we're covered.
Yeah.
So just ignore that then, as long as it's legal to approve minutes when you haven't been at the meeting.
So the IRS guy out in the hallway is okay with that, so. Okay, agenda. Board, study session, board item, certified annual report.
We completed that.
Did that, okay. Oh, that's what you did in the beginning, right. Updates, comments, public may not speak. You can't speak.
I guess the only information staff has is, and I apologize if we haven't communicated this to all the board members yet, but we are scheduling a retreat for our next meeting. It will occur here in this room, so it'll be the same time and date and place as the regular meeting. But we don't have any actual applications scheduled. What we would like to do is schedule a number of topics that have been raised by board members as well as staff to discuss and develop perhaps a work plan to work on some of these items throughout the next year or so. And so without stealing the thunder, I won't go into what those items are necessarily, but they involve things like some board housekeeping issues that we need to take care of, as well as looking at whether or not we want to make recommendations for adopting guidelines or, for instance, the Professorville guidelines that are currently being drafted. We also have survey updates that need to be done at some point and talk about how we can get resources to do that. Those are just some of the topics that we'd like to go over here kicking off the new year.
Do we have a date for that?
That will be 21st, so the regularly scheduled meeting time.
I'm
and
not
date.
here that week, and I definitely would like to be at the retreat.
Okay.
I think I made it clear in our December 5th meeting that I wouldn't be available because I'll be out of town.
I apologize, that slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Let us
Can you
regroup and think
reconsider?
about that, because we certainly want all the board members to be able to participate, so perhaps that makes sense to push that meeting off until February 3rd, I think would be the next board meeting. So we'll get back to you on that.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
And also time to perfect that list of what topics we might discuss.
True, that gives us time to send out a preliminary list and get some feedback from the board members as well. Thank you.
Maybe we will have the opportunity to do another, maybe the applicant with the study session will want to come back the third week of January. So we'll
Possibly.
start a meeting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll wait till the applicant, it's
Great.
kind of in their
So
court
it's
at the
possible we
moment.
could still have a meeting?
Sorry?
It is possible we could still have a meeting on the
On the
19th.
21st.
21st.
Yes, it is possible. Yeah, at the moment, there are no applications currently scheduled, though.
Thank you.
May I suggest a little homework for you, Matt?
Please.
It follows the suggestion from Vice Mayor Schmidt that we look at industrial sites that could be eligible for nomination. And that's going to take some screening, but specifically named was Fairchild.
Yes.
But that would be nice if staff could do some homework and come up with a list of industrial sites that are worthy of consideration.
Excellent.
He has asked that for several years, even before it was quite 50 years old.
And I think that would be responsive to the new city council's interests.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Martin?
Yes, Matt, any update on the Professorville Design Guidelines that's been going through for about 2 years now, 3 years, 2 years, I forget. So,
Been a while.
next step, I guess, is HRB and City Council and Planning Commission and all that stuff.
Well, I don't have an update right at the moment. I do know that based on the information on the website, one of the activities that is meant to occur is a review by a consultant. And so I know that that's an important part of the process that I'm definitely in favor of. So I think at some point we want to be able to address that, and I'm not sure that we've figured out how to do that. Right. But I do know also that Ms. French is working on an update to the board on the Professorville guidelines.
Okay, good. And also, let's see, I guess it's a question for City Council. Is there a City Council liaison for HRB and City Council? So,
Well, there may be one by name, but since Nancy left, we haven't had it. Usually a council member comes at least once in a while to hear us, but Liz Nissu told me to run to apply for the HRB 20 years ago.
Okay.
Was our council person last year, and she never came at all.
And then the other comment was usually we have an annual City Council HRB joint meeting, so if we can schedule that sometime this year.
Well, there
that'd be
was
great.
talk of that a meeting or two ago. That was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's still in the works. I think it just hasn't been scheduled yet, and we're
New
working,
council.
working with the city council to
Yeah, I
get
think
that
it was
done.
decided to wait till the new council came on board.
Okay, so my main comment would be if we could move on the Professorville Design Guidelines so we can get that closer to City Council enactment. Thanks.
Yeah, basically, we're getting a number of work, and do you guys want to have your own meeting, or what? I can't hear. The Professorville guidelines, there's a lot of projects coming up in Professorville, and it'd be nice that those were finalized and part of the action, so.
I think I agree that's a priority because a great number of our reviews are for Professorville contributing residences.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from anybody else? Comments?
We're definitely not having a meeting on the 21st or 2 weeks from now.
I will need to get back to you on that. I think we've actually noticed the meeting, but we may, based on this, I'm not sure, maybe we might be able to retract the notice. So I will get back to you very shortly on that.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.